I don't know whether I can go and take it and sit on it.
Yeah. It looks a bit different.
I feel sunken, yeah.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. How you doing, though?
All right. I'm
You're
fine.
good?
I'm fine. It's just that the finance, despite completing the debt restructuring, something, there are ongoing negotiations to restructure some additional 123 domestic billion debts. So this is the thing that the headlines don't capture. Finance Minister hints at second round of domestic debt restructuring. Whilst we are looking at getting the approval, there's a second round of domestic debt restructuring. I know that sometime in the morning when we come, we want to hear good news. So this is the good news. We're getting the IMF approval about there will be domestic debt restructuring second round. And they are going to include pension funds, cocoa bills. Cocoa bills are treasury bills issued by or on behalf of Cocoa Board. And then we have local bonds that are in US currency. So there are some banks, for example, if you want to open a dollar account or have packages, etc., they'll tell you, but these are government, of course, bonds. So they'll tell you that if you want to have a dollar account, it means that you need to maintain a certain minimum requirement and use that amount to buy some bond or some fund or something of the sort. And then government debt to the Bank of Ghana, that one there. I mean, it's the treasury bills that I'm worried about. They told us that no T-bills.
Yeah, they assured us. But remember...
But it's only one now. So.
You remember lawyer Martin Kwebu?
And Joe Jackson.
Yeah, they had said that, well, per some documents that they had come across, cited. They know that treasury bills will be touched eventually. And so if anybody thinks that their treasury bills are safe, well, they should think again. And government came out and said that wasn't true. Yes, so how come we're coming back to a second debt restructuring and T-bills are part? And pension funds.
Yes. You know, pension fund, a lot of money is with the various pension funds.
But they were able to fight their way out of it in the first debt restructuring.
Yes, but you cannot be free all the time. You know, the reality is that we haven't created the space and we haven't given the IMF the confidence that we've had adequacy as far as the percentage levels of the domestic debt restructuring is concerned. And so when you speak to the analysts, and I remember I spoke to one very prominent one who gave me scenarios, and that was about a month ago. And I was seeking counsel or advice on a friend who wanted to make a financial decision regarding T-bills. So he gave me scenarios and said, even though government says that they've achieved 80 points or something or so percent of the GDP, the IMF, based on what it wants, would then make suggestions. So, for example, when we read the 2023 budgets back in November, certain tax handles were supposed to have been approved quickly so that by implementation, from January, February, you'll start getting the revenues. But you will remember, we just got approval for some new ones this April, before even Parliament rose, so to speak. So it means that the timelines for which we wanted those revenues to come in based on the approvals of those tax handles, we are falling short of meeting the targets of those revenues. So ultimately, it will mean it will affect your ability to pay, you know. So it's just a very simple explanation to the issue. So I think that it's good. Government is getting the approval from the IMF. 3 billion will not come. The first tranche is not going to be 3 billion. So what they do is they stagger it for you. And then they expect that you meet certain conditionalities or conditionalities that you have put in your own document and then they've negotiated with you, you know. So, for example, if you said that, well, you're not going to exchange your four-wheel drive for a Benz, they ask you, well, this is good. You're still cutting down, but based on what we're seeing, you will not be able to maintain the Benz. So please go for a Toyota, you know, so that your expenditure will reduce. So those are some of the things that they tend to take a look at. But I think that the overall consideration is that we've had the IMF come publicly. The US government earlier had said they will help us. So that's a good thing.
Well, as of 2 days ago, Zambia was yet to receive its first tranche from the IMF, even though they had agreed on a deal. And they agreed on this deal sometime last year, I think August or so.
Yes, that was in August.
Exactly. And as of 2 days ago, per some statements and checks that were made, they were yet to even receive the first tranche.
And it was less than 200
Exactly.
million.
So it was about 187 or so.
Yes.
So the question then is and the finance minister did say that they expect that we'll get the approval in May. And this is a quoted statement. He says, we do at this time expect an IMF board approval in May 2023 and contemplate a rapid negotiation of a memorandum of understanding with our creditors. What is the guarantee that even if we get the approval in May, and if we're using Zambia as a case study, our monies will come immediately?
All right. So the good thing about the Zambian thing was that the time they got the approval, it enabled the kwacha, which is their currency, to gain credibility.
Yeah, it did.
So it became, I believe, even up to now, one of the highest, or at some point in time, the highest performing currency in Africa in terms of its appreciation against the major international trading currency, which is the US dollar, and the others. So that's the thing you get. You get some level of respect. So Roland is dressing fine in public, and then all of a sudden it's announced that Roland apparently is broke. So then you have, let's say, maybe Despite or the shareholders of TV3 come to tell the public that, oh, Roland, even though he's in good hands, he'll be able to pay. So then people will start respecting me. So you will start respecting me again. Okay, after all, what I thought about Roland was not what it was. After all, he's dressing, apparently he's in good pay, he can pay. So essentially that is what it is. It's
not that simple.
Yes. So when you speak to the analyst, these are some of the things that they tell you. That is why it is important that when we're doing the analysis, and you always also tend to bring that you have 10 Ghana cedis. And if you have 10 Ghana cedis, you don't go and live in an apartment which is 120 Ghana cedis, or which is 12 Ghana cedis, for example.
Yeah.
So you have to then, even though you have 10, rather go and live in one that is even less than 10. But we're living in an apartment which is more than 10. And this is in direct reference to, for example, that budget deficit is 61 billion or in excess, okay, from the last budget. And even the revenues we're expecting so that we'll be able to spend within that period, and we've exceeded the first quarter already, we have to ask whether the revenues have come, you know. But it's a good thing that because we're speaking to the IMF, we're gaining some respect in the international community. But it also means that we've seen inflation and other indicators coming down. So it's a good thing.
It's a good indication.
Yeah, so because those holding our domestic debt, some of them are foreign entities.
Yeah.
You know, some of them are foreign entities. They are playing within the space with the locals as well. You know, so it's all parts. But I think that the IMF approval is a good thing. I think that's the...
is it a good thing, really?
Yes, because we're going to play by the ball. You know, they're going to put us in check.
But that's the problem. And we're always going to go back. Is that the case? Because then we can't put ourselves in check, and we need an external force to always keep us in check. And I think that beyond just getting an IMF approval, we all need to have an honest conversation with ourselves, especially the people who are in charge of running the economy at every point in time. Because the signal we're sending constantly, and it's not just us, but African countries, so all these foreign nationals and countries, is that we cannot manage our own affairs. And so, of course, they would give us the loan because they know they can control a lot of things around us. And that is where the concern is. We're never really free. We're never really liberated if we continue to do this. 17 times at the IMF. And if things don't change by what we're seeing, there's a likelihood we'll go the 18th time, the 19th time, the 20th time. But until when are we going to rise up and say that we have the resources? We should be able to manage our resources so we don't have to go to these people. In actual fact, they should rather be coming to us to try to negotiate and get some of the resources that we have, because they come and pillage it anyway, and we allow them to take all that for free. We live lavishly, and these people who have the money, they don't even live as lavishly as we do. So it's, I mean, I don't know if anybody says IMF is a good thing. and we have to accept it. Until when? We really need to sit up. If we don't, then we're going to be at the beck and call of these countries, and they'll do whatever they want. That is why US thinks they can come and have talks with us about. But we all know that for a lot of these foreign nations that come to us, they are coming to us because there's something that they're looking for, and they're hoping that we can give it to them. And they know that already we cannot even manage our situation, so we might as well just go under them. So slavery really doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. If you go borrowing, you are still a slave to the person, because now you have to find ways to pay back with interest. You are literally working to pay that person back. I mean, I don't know. But I'll leave that for you to ponder over. And let's see how things go. But as young people, we need to let these leaders understand that enough.
Yeah.
Enough of this.
Shall I take a break?
Charlie.
It's a headache.
We'll be back. We'll be back.